Hi, welcome to my new video for beginners. In this video, we're going to learn how to draw a street using one-point perspective. Are you ready? Here we go. I start by drawing the horizon line. The horizon line should be a straight line drawn parallel to the top and bottom edges of the paper. And this is the vanishing point that we will use in the drawing. There are buildings on a street, right? But before you start drawing buildings, you should think about where and how wide the road will be. You'll be placing the buildings based on the road's position. Therefore, I'm going to draw the road first. In this drawing, I'm standing in the middle of the road, but I'm quite high off the ground. So, the road should look a bit narrow, right? As you can see, I draw two straight lines starting from the vanishing point. Okay, I'm starting to draw the buildings. There will be two tall buildings close to us on the right and left sides of the street, but I won't be able to see the top and bottom of these buildings. For the buildings, I draw two vertical lines on the right and left sides of the paper. Make sure these lines are as parallel to the right and left edges of the paper as possible. Well, now let's draw the street side of these two buildings with two vertical lines. These should be parallel to the vertical lines we drew earlier. I know it's hard to picture these as buildings right now, but trust me, they'll be the highlight of your drawing. Just to make the street a bit more realistic, I'll add another little street here. I've drawn a small horizontal line to show you what I mean. You'll see how it works. Pay attention to these 2 points. Using these points, I will draw two more vertical lines, which will give me two rectangles. All right, great. Let's take a look at what we've done so far. We have a main road, a small road, two buildings at the beginning of the street, and two buildings on the corners of the street. I think it's all a bit easier to understand now, right? Then let's continue drawing. Now let's draw the sides of the buildings on the corner of the street. I draw a straight line from the top corner of the building on the left to the vanishing point. Then I finish drawing the building side with a vertical line. Now it's time for the building on the right. I'm drawing it like the other building. I am going to draw all the buildings side by side along the street. I think you get how to draw buildings. We have to draw them all the same way. There is something you should pay attention to at this point. According to the rules of perspective, objects that move away from us appear smaller. So, the width of buildings should get narrower the further away they are. Building widths should not be the same. The height of the buildings is up to you. You can draw them short or tall. It is preferable that they are not the same height as each other. I'm thinking of adding a little street there. For this, I drew a tiny horizontal line. When you're working on distant objects, try not to go overboard with the details. Your eyes don't notice the details when something is far away. It's not necessary. Just a few touches to show that they're buildings is enough. When drawing a street, it's better to start by sketching where the buildings will be, just like we're doing right now. Even though they currently look like cardboard boxes, it's easier to add details to these shapes. Okay, very good. Now it's time to add reality to these cardboard boxes. What should we do about it? Yes, of course, we should add windows to the buildings. We all know that there is no building without windows, right? I start drawing the windows from the building on the left. I will divide the front and side of the building like a chessboard. Before I do that, I draw something like a frame. The windows will be inside this frame. The number of windows and their width is up to you. You can draw them in any way you like. Note that the horizontal lines should be parallel to the top and bottom edges of the paper, and the vertical lines should be parallel to the right and left edges of the paper. The windows on the front of the building should line up with the windows on the side. To do this, draw the side windows as I am showing you now. Remember to use the vanishing point when drawing the side windows to ensure a proper perspective. If you don't use the vanishing point, your drawing will look weird. Now let's add some detail to the windows. Draw light lines. At the end of the drawing, you will darken these lines. Never use dark lines in the early stages of your work. If you make mistakes, it'll be tricky to fix them later. You'll have plenty of time to darken the lines at the end. Now I will divide the side windows with vertical lines. Alright, let's move on to the other buildings. First, I'll figure out the area for shops and such under the buildings. I'm using the vanishing point again. You don't need much detail. A few lines will do the job. I'm going to draw frame-like designs on all the buildings and add windows inside them. So I'm essentially repeating the same process I used on the first building. As I said before, you don't need to go overboard with the details for distant objects. A little detail is enough to create the desired effect. For some of you, drawing a street like this may be challenging. Maybe it would be better for them to start with a street with fewer and lower buildings. I am planning to draw a simpler street. You can find a video about it in the coming days. I hope it will be useful for you. Okay, now it's time to draw the windows of the building on the right. I'm going to follow the same process as I did for the others. The only difference is the shape and size of the windows. If you noticed, I draw a bunch of straight lines. When drawing a street like this, you'll need to do the same. You can use a ruler, but I suggest you practice drawing straight lines first, because you may have to draw loads of straight lines throughout your artistic life. It can be a bit of a pain to use a ruler every time, and it can also take up a lot of time. I'll leave you alone with the drawing. Don't worry, we'll be together again in a few minutes. For now, enjoy yourself. Okay, I'm back. We finished drawing the buildings. Now, let's add pavement to the street. This pavement won't be very wide because it's far away from us. We'll use the vanishing point to draw it. And don't forget the pavement on the little streets. Good. Now I need to add some depth to the buildings to make them look more realistic. To achieve this, I'm going to add shadows with dark tones where they need to be. These areas are going to be windows and frames. Because every object has a thickness, right? The goal is to make these thicknesses stand out even more. I sped up the video a little bit here because I don't want to take up too much of your time. You might be a little bored. I'm going to show you how to add depth as quickly as I can. So, where should we add depth to an object? To figure this out, you just need to check if the object is above or below the horizon line. If the object is above the horizon line, you should add depth to the bottom of the object because you can see the bottom of it. If the object is below the horizon line, you can see the top of the object, so you should add depth to the top of it. Another thing to remember is that if an object is to the left of the vanishing point, you should give depth to the right side of the object because that's where you'll see the right side of the object. And if the object is to the right of the vanishing point, you should add depth to the left side as you'll see the left side of the object. Is it too complicated? Now it sounds really complicated to me too. Actually, it's not. It just sounds that way when you put it into words. It's actually very simple. When you practice a lot, you will see how simple it is. Okay guys, we've got all the perspective stuff down. The next step is to add more detail and realism. We're going to use lighting and shading to achieve this. But you know, the main focus of this video is perspective. So I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of lighting and shading here. Because lighting and shading is a deep topic in itself, and another video is needed just for that. I'm just going to show you quickly to get an idea. However, I can give you some advice on this subject. It would be good to draw the main objects in your drawing with a 2B soft pencil. This way you can easily fix any mistakes. Use 4B and 5B soft pencils at the end of the drawing for the darker areas. 0.5B pencil can be used for fine details in areas where sharpness is needed. Since you are a beginner, there is no need to use expensive pencils or paper for now. Ordinary paper and pencils will do the job. Don't waste your money. Always start shading with light touches. Move gradually to darker tones. It is easy to darken a light area, but it can be difficult to lighten a dark area. This can be annoying. It is best to do the darkest tones at the end of your drawing. Basically, shade from light to dark and from soft to hard. And that's it. What do you think? Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. I would be happy if you would like my video and subscribe to show your support. Have a nice day. Goodbye.